Hello and welcome back to our 100th episode of the Launch Your Farm Show. I am super excited to bring this special episode to you. This is the second time we've done this. We've taken the last 49 episodes and shared the last piece of advice from each of our guests and compiled it into one episode for you. So there's a ton of great information in here, a ton of great advice, and really compiled all that knowledge and put it into one episode. So if you like the episode and you like the guest's advice, go back and check out their episodes and get a little more information about what they're up to, what you can learn from them. So be sure to check out this episode, like and subscribe, and enjoy our 100th episode.
Well, give and don't expect back. Give to give, and be real. Show up, and it's people see through. When you have ulterior motives and that whole idea of commission breath.
Yeah.
So just let them know I'm here to serve, and if I can help you, great. If not, that's great too. And just keep filling your pipeline. That way you won't have to worry about that one that got away.
Yeah.
It sometimes always hurts, especially if somebody and you think, oh, I thought sure they would, can't believe they sold. There was a situation like that with me, a woman I knew from church. We were not good friends, but she certainly knew I was a realtor and we were acquaintances. And I saw where her house sold, and I was like, oh, I would have loved to have helped her. And she was there for 66 years and sold her house. And 5 months later, the person who bought the house resold it for an extra $500,000. So she actually obviously didn't get market value.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have helped her, but she didn't call. So, there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah. Giving and the relationships building is just super important. And again, for the long term, you just got to keep doing it. And like I said, you're not going to get all of them. And unfortunately, some people don't always want to work with you, but the ones that do will be happy with you. And that's what matters.
That's right. Exactly.
Big part of it is find somebody, read, study, research, that type of stuff. Okay. And one thing that drives me nuts with people is when they continually ask me questions, I'm like, well, what do you think? Did you look it up? Have you researched that? Like, it's like back to when I started prospecting. That's got into real estate sales phone calls. Do you think I just picked up a phone and said, okay, hey, I'm Anthony? Hell no. I went deep.
Yeah.
It's just like you and I had a very long time conversation on Facebook, which resurfaced about Craigslist.
Yeah.
Man, I put so many hours. I'm talking hundreds of hours into research. I used to sit on her name's Christina Lee in Jacksonville, Florida. I remember 2, 3 in the morning, be on the phone with her, and we're cracking the code on Craigslist.
Yeah.
And we dominated. I'm talking, Craig was crazy stuff. So put the work in, guys.
Yeah.
But make sure you see it through. People quit way too freaky early. And look, this shit's gonna suck. First year in eating NOLA, man, I tell you, I've made myself sick eating, which wasn't a bad thing necessarily. A lot of freaking money.
Yeah.
People aren't willing to do that part, man. People are not willing to do that part. And I'll tell you, the ones that are willing to do it, like, I get obsessed. Like, I'm diving into a couple of projects right now, obviously with EXP and another mortgage platform and things like that we're looking into.
Yep.
And I'm diving deep, man. I'm diving deep into it.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. And that time up front will save you the time down the road, and it'll be worth it. But I also say you got to still take action. You can research, and there's agents who will sit there researching for 2 years and then never do anything.
That's the biggest part about this, is that taking that action. It's like, what they say, the law of attraction. And they say, people say, oh, if I just think it will come, attraction. No, but the back word on that's action.
Yeah.
It's like all those books that you have behind you, man, if you don't implement any of these systems, you don't take action in that step. Like, exactly. We can read about social media marketing, but if you don't actually go out, create the account, start following people, start engaging them, start taking action, start meeting people, taking pictures consistently, it'll never work. And then you look in the mirror and go, why that didn't work?
Exactly.
It's like, I was an IT guy, man. And literally I taught myself how to be an IT guy. I used to wait tables at a restaurant in New Orleans called Arnold's, and they would laugh at me because I had these big, thick Cisco books, Microsoft books. I'm reading this shit, and it's just putting in that level of knowledge. But then I said, and they used to be like, dude, because we had a decent team at the restaurant, making great money, doing all that stuff. I mean, living that life, and people are like, man, you're never going to quit this job. I was making $50,000, $60,000 a year waiting tables.
Yeah.
And I quit. I said, okay, I got this job. I'm gonna take this IT job, and I took it with the Army. And I'll never forget when I bought my first house a couple of months after I took that job. My salary was cut in half. I mean, I was making about $60,000, $70,000 a year working in a restaurant. I took a job making 40. Okay, And I never forget the lender asks me, why did you quit this job? And I'm like, I got a bigger goal. There's something I'm playing into. But I took that action, which a lot of times people don't do. It's like part-time real estate agents. Okay. They never go say, I quit. I'm going to go burn that ship, burn that boat, and go move forward. So many of them. The guy that I was just talking about, 90 days in, never quit his full-time job, but yet sit there and tells me that how he don't think that he can be successful and this is not the right model for him. I'm like, yeah, it's not. You didn't quit your job. What do you expect?
Exactly. You got to take a step back to take more steps forward, which is
absolutely. Absolutely. Like right now with what I'm rebuilding with my model too, like even with real estate, like if I join an EXP, getting out of sales, and I was making a lot of money selling houses, I took a step back 3 years ago and it hurt for a little while. Financially, it was like, shit, I don't have all this money pouring in, but I knew I had a plan. I have a point. I'm still going towards that plan. I'm no way even close to it, but took that action, was willing to, bite that bullet for a little while.
Yeah,
it's benefiting in a large way.
Awesome.
So I give this to like every agent on my team, every agent in my office, and any agent on Facebook that says, hey, recommend something to me, recommend a book, right? What should I read? And I always recommend the Landmark Forum.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a course in many, many cities, but it's an online course right now. But this is a course about working on yourself.
Yeah.
And I always say, start with like this, for myself, is start with this first.
Yep.
Right. If we start with this and be able to have personal development, like only then are we able to go and, cause impact to others.
Yeah.
So it definitely is that mindset of like the mask coming down on the plane and like save yourself first.
Yep.
And then go and support others. And I think that's definitely the main thing is the main concept of leadership is to do that. And for us as agents is to be leaders for our raving fans, for our farm area is to be leaders. And I think the biggest impact in my career and my life was taking that course, the Landmark Forum.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you have to be in the right mindset to be able to do that, and spending more money or doing more business is going to fix you, and it's not going to make you more referable if you aren't in the right headspace and you're not thinking correctly and you're not referable because you're just not the right person who people want to refer you. And if you're in a negative headspace and you're bitter about everything, it's like no one's going to refer you. It doesn't matter how good of a gift you send, or it doesn't matter how often you follow up with them. If you're negative and thinking negatively, people are just going to be like, he's a jerk, or they're just there's an unconscious disconnect that people may not even realize it. So you have to work on you to get that fixed for sure.
Right. And how many times have we seen agents on like social media like complain about their clients?
Yeah.
Like they imagine someone doing that in public space.
Yeah.
And then must be a lot of agents doing that still in here in their own mind space. And that will show inside of your business. So that's why I say, agents coming on the teams, like take care of this first.
Yeah.
Right. Go take the course, learn the strategies there in the course. Right. And they do this thing that's very transformational, where at the end of it, like, you see the world a different way, and you can't unsee it that way anymore.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like all my complaints were just what it is. They were just complaints.
Yeah. I know my friend Alex went through it, and
Not
it was
real.
great for him and made a big difference in his life as well. So I know it's a great program to go through.
Yeah, I would just start off simple, looking at backwards and maybe at last year's business, and look at where your business came from, and then look at how much you spent in each marketing category, calculate your return on investment or your cost per sale. That is the simplest thing you can do, and that is a good starting point. A lot of people are going to get overwhelmed if we start getting into conversion rates, conversions, all that. So just starting with super simple like that is going to be helpful. And then, as you get into the habit of tracking more often, you can add in different metrics. You can dive deeper into certain areas as you see fit. But then I think the next step is doing a profit and loss statement every month. I think it's very good, not only from a marketing decision-making standpoint, but also just like a business owner hat in general. Like when do my revenue, when does money come in, and like where are my big expenses? Because where we're at, or very seasonal. And so it almost makes like a perfect bell curve. And so we need to plan for that. Otherwise, you're going to be like, steaks one day, and then next month, oh shit, you're having hot dogs. So try to figure that out and plan your marketing around that is very helpful. And then, like we had discussed earlier, as you start to track this stuff more, it's a lot easier to pivot. You've got that information, and you can make much more intelligent decisions instead of just feeling like this isn't working. You can definitively say. And then I guess one last piece of advice as well would be to stick with it, because I see so many agents that they try something and then they give up after like 2 months, where especially with farming, it takes 6 months to a year to really get established. And so you might be going and thinking nothing's happening, but you're kind of building that brand awareness. And then after that, it should become more profitable. And then I recommend reinvesting and growing, but to each their own.
You're speaking my language. So yeah, that's, I talk all the time that agents, the biggest, I think the biggest failures in real estate is that they pull it too soon and they try farming. And I've talked to so many hundreds of agents and well, I've tried farming. It's like, no, you sent out a couple postcards. That's not farming. The farming is the commitment and that time. And it takes time to build that, and you reinvest. And that's something I always talk about. Your farm should fund your farm. That if you do it correctly, you take the money you get from the farm, not all of it, but you take a chunk of it back, you put it back into it, and that's how you grow. And if you wait and just take it out of your savings account, all of a sudden your spouse is going to be yelling at you because it's a slow month and you didn't have a sale, and you go, maybe I won't. Then you start pulling back, and it's like, no, if you're watching what you're doing, you're watching where you're spending it, you can either ride that out or go, okay, this isn't the right fit for me, and pull back.
Yeah. And one of the things that Marshall talked about in our first book is that what he and his wife did early on in their careers, I guess, was that they would live off of the previous year income, which is crazy to think about if you're currently living paycheck to paycheck. But the more I thought about it, the more I was thinking, like, that's really smart, because we don't know what's going to happen. COVID, a prime example. And so a lot of people were in really tough positions in real estate. There's no guarantees. Like every day you're out there, interviewing for a job, basically, because you got to find the next deal. And so my wife and I have kind of embraced that as well, where we didn't do a full year, but we built up a 6-month reserve, and we're just kind of trying to live off of like her salary. That way we can use mine for investing and for bigger expenses, trips, a house, car, whatever. I think that's been really good. So we're not really stressing. And marketing wise, we have on our business side, so we have LLC and S Corp, all that fun stuff. But we had, at the beginning of the year, already have allocated all the money for our marketing. And so when these salespeople call me, I'm like, well, you should talk to me in November, because I do all my business planning in November and I budget for the entire year. And all my money has been earmarked, so I can't possibly make any changes at this time. But and a few of them actually do follow up in November. Oh, cool. Let's hear the pitch now. It's got to be good. But
that's awesome.
It called a lot. I'm sure a lot of the agents watching or listening to this are in the same boat, where every day their phone is ringing. And it's not, people wanting to buy or sell. It's people wanting to sell us something. So we kind of always got our guard up. We're kind of worried, like, is this person just trying to make money off me? And I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of times they are. So
I've heard this is the easiest way to make money in real estate is sell something to real estate agents. So
I wrote a couple of books, so that there you go.
I offer training and coaching, so that's what I do. So I get it.
Yeah. Well, I think that to start, they've got to find something that they're passionate about. And they shouldn't just do it because that worked for me. Like you mentioned, a farm could be a residential neighborhood. A farm could be, if they're bodybuilders, it could be other people who work out every morning at the gym at 5 a.m, or it could be the soccer leagues or whatever that they're into. Find the passion, because when you're passionate about something, you're going to be magnetic. And so how can you plug into your community where you're at? And then it's how many people can you get into your database? How many people can you serve, because you want to be reciprocal. So give them referrals, help them grow, they'll help you grow, right? You build that. And then, when you get to have too many opportunities, then you figure out what your next step is in leverage. And then, for me, it was just, I kept going for time back because I had the babies and I needed more time. So I hired an assistant, and then I hired a buyer's agent, and then we got too busy again and we plugged the next hole and it was another assistant. And to this day, like just had a conversation today, we need to hire 5 ISAs. Okay, that's another hole. And like, so we're just constantly just trying to be better with the talent that we have, and then plug the hole. And
that's huge.
Keep growing. It grows organically.
Yeah. And you're willing to do that and put the time in. Like I said, you're not just staying stagnant with what you did and going, oh, I'm happy with that. And it's being better, but not taking on more. Some people do that. They'll just keep adding on more stuff, and then they don't have the time. Your intention was to do the opposite, was to replace it so you could get your time back, which is what you should be doing.
Well, and don't let that marketing slip, because that's the first thing that goes. Because and everybody hires that transaction manager first. I would say that shouldn't be your first hire. It should be the person who's working your database and managing the marketing, because that's the first thing that goes. I'll get back to that. It's not something that's ever going to be on fire, and then it just gets dropped. And so then they go on that roller coaster of real estate, and that's no fun.
Especially with
whatever you do here has to be consistent.
Yeah. I talk about that all the time with farming, that people say it takes 6 to 18 months to see results, but it also takes 6 to 18 months to see the dip as well. So it takes time to build it up. And if you stop doing what works, if you're not tracking and not growing, 6 to 18 months go by and now you don't have the market share you had. And it's like, you've lost it. Now you got to gain it back again. So it's staying on top of it, which is huge. So that's awesome.
I would say, first of all, I'm going to say have a CRM.
Yes.
be able to track. Farming takes so much time and commitment and patience, and in large amounts. So having a strategy, having an idea of where you want to go, and what you're going to say, maybe that's my advice. Otherwise, it becomes it costs a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of energy, and you don't want to waste that. So we want to be able to track where leads are coming from, what you want to say to them, and be prepared to have conversations, be able to extend articulate, I'll say, the value that you have to offer as an individual agent or as a team, just so that you can make best use of the opportunities to build the relationships. Otherwise, the alternative is to be missed. I'd say secondary is to don't be impatient. Create a niche. I would say, like, if I learned anything from Dan here, is he's really just created a niche in what he likes to do. So following the path of what he likes to do, he's been able to create a really and I say he, but he would say the team as a whole. We've really been able to create a really cool little ecosystem here,
it's awesome.
It just doesn't happen overnight.
And my 2 cents to that, and knowing what I know about you guys and what you're working on, is that don't be afraid to leverage out and let other people do stuff, because so many agents are hung up on, it's only me, only I can do this, I'm the only best person I know. From what Dan's done, it's really finding the right people and putting them in place, and you can grow a lot more when you do that.
Oh, that's for sure. Like, he would tell you over and over again, he wouldn't have been able to do any of what he's done, or very little, if he didn't have the teams surrounding him and the teams in each of the companies. So we all have our own groups, right? And we work together and we just make good things happen.
I would say budget cheaply, but plan on door knocking. I would say the biggest mistake I see agents do is they commit to spending, in 1,000 home farm, they commit to spending $6,000 or $12,000 over the course of the year. And if they don't see results, they get discouraged. Oftentimes they get discouraged by their spouse, who says, you're sending money out, not putting any money in. However, if you're going out and you're spending $100 to print up 1,000 sheets, and you hand deliver them, and you come home sweaty, and you laugh because somebody shot you with a hose, or you stepped in dog poop, and you're sitting there with your spouse talking about that, they see you working hard, and they continue to do that. Now, it takes time. I can tell you, knocking on doors, you plan on 2 hours, you'll knock on 50 doors a day. And that's really, and that's in a typical neighborhood with, I don't know, you call them meters, square meter yards, but not having the acreage, or hectares or whatever you call them, hectares or whatever. Yeah. But if it's a normal where you can walk from one house to another in a minute or so, you can get like 50 homes done in 2 hours. Yeah. If you did that, you're probably going to get into 4 to 5 conversations every day you go out, and you're going to leave something of value, your market analysis or your market report on the door. Big tip is I take a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I print it up on thicker cardboard. I take a single hole punch it there, and put a long string of rubber band around it so that I can hang it on a doorknob or a light post or something much easier than trying to fold it in half and shove it in the door or something. In the United States, you can't put anything in a mailbox or on a mailbox. So that's where the rubber bands come in. So the rubber bands make it a lot easier to put it on. So if I was going to knock on 50 doors, I'd have 40 done with the rubber bands on it, and I have 10. And then I'd also write, "Sorry, I missed you" on it. And boom, it's a handwritten note. It goes out. You go quickly from one to other. And then the 10 that are home that you talk to, you're able to give them something without the rubber band on it. So I would plan, hey, pick 400 or 500 homes. You're going to spend, $25, $50 a month on it rather than $500 a month on it. And you're going to see results. And I would consistently, on 500 homes, that's 10 days. I would try on doing it every 6 months, door knocking, and then getting all the other campaigns. I would say within 18 months, you're going to start to see great results. You'll probably start seeing results in 6 months. But in 18 months, you're going to look back and say, hey, this is the best thing I ever did.
100%. I totally agree. That's all advice that I would give. So that's awesome.
I would say join a team right away. If you're, I think that you don't really, at least I didn't. I had no clue what to do once I got my license, because they don't tell you how to do anything. So I was, I would join a team. That experience, okay, you're not going to make the commission that you potentially could make. But that experience is going to go way further, because 50% of a commission is better than 100% of no commission. So I would say join a team, leverage their numbers, use their experience, and then get on video. I think video is where you're really going to relate. You can reach thousands of people. I posted a video yesterday. It's already at 40,000 views.
Wow. That's great.
Go knock on 40,000 doors and tell me how long it takes you, or call 40,000 people. So if you can find that lane of what you're doing and niche down and find that audience, like there's so many people you can reach in a day, which would in traditional methods take you a year, maybe 2 years. So I would say join a team, jump on video, find your niche.
That's awesome. Those are great advice. And
I think that what the best answer for this is your time. Because I think a lot of people think they've got to spend a lot of money to promote themselves or whatever, but in getting involved in the community is really, it should be free for the most part. Find something that you connect with so that the partnership feels real and isn't forced. So let's say there's a business that you frequent on a regular basis, whether it's your coffee shop or maybe it's, where you get your hair done, or maybe it's, I don't know, I'm trying to think. We have a new shop downtown here. It's a new clothing store, catered to women, and it like in my age demographic, or maybe a little bit younger than me, but think of where you go and what you like to do and talk to them. Like maybe you can do a collaboration with them that's really both beneficial on both ends, right? Volunteering, I think it's huge. I really do. I think it doesn't have to be on a big, you don't have to commit yourself to, every month or something, but even just one time doing something for somebody. Like I know when we were with Big Brothers and Big Sisters doing that event for them, it was a one-time thing, but they held the liquor license, and then they took all the proceeds of the booze we sold. So, I mean, it was a really great thing, right? So
yeah, I think it's great, like you said, is that to focus on something you enjoy, and that's why I always tell agents to get involved in stuff that you care about, because real estate can be boring. And if you're doing stuff where it's like some agents struggle creating good content or being authentic from the real estate perspective, it's like if you can get involved in something in the community that you like, that you enjoy doing, or that you're passionate about, that translates well, and you'll be able to connect with people and have that authenticity and really build a solid business that way.
Exactly. And then that way it doesn't look like you're trying to, do something that's unauthentic, or you're just, selling something that no one wants to buy because they're not interested in your pitch.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of all the Rocky movies, and when I teach farming, I always go back to Rocky's coach when he fought the Russian Ivan Drago, and when Rocky was training, mentally his coach just kept saying no pain, no pain, no pain. And so when I'm out there farming, I always have that phrase, no pain. And you're probably thinking like, what the heck is he going to say? Well, farming's not easy. And there's going to be times that you want to quit. And there's going to be times that you want to cry. And, you need to have the mindset going in that, you know what, no pain, no pain. You got to have that metronome going, that no matter what, no matter whether you get yelled at, whether you get cussed at, whether you get spit on, you have you need to see the end in mind. And no matter what, no pain. No one's going to stop you from doing your farm. No pain. No one's going to stop you from doing your movie event. No pain. No one's going to stop you from walking 40,000 steps in a day and delivering thousands of door hangers, inviting them to your event. And so no matter what you do, if your mindset going in is, you know what, there's no pain. My mindset is, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to do this. And people want to buy houses from me because they know that I am the local expert. They want to buy houses from me because they like me. They trust me. And we got to have that mindset that we are the local expert, whether we've sold one house or we've sold 1,000 homes. We are the local expert. You know what? We called ourselves the Kendrick team before we had a team. Why? Because we were. We wanted everyone to know, hey, we got a team behind us. They weren't on our team. They were on our Keller Williams team. But it's that mindset that we were going to have a team one day and that we were going to sell hundreds of homes. And, praise God, God's been good. And but we continue to farm, and farming's been a blessing to us. And I think the people in our community, they look forward to what we do.
I would say start slowly. Don't try to, for example, a product like listings to leads, and pretty much any product you're going to see, none of them were built in a day, right? We've been on for 12 years. We've been iterating for 12 years. When you sign up for any kind of product, just learn the one thing that you're trying to figure out first, and try not to get in over your head. I seriously go look at some of Ryan's older videos. When he invited me to be on this call, that was the first thing I did. And to be honest, I spent more time than I expected just going through your old, because to be honest, I got so inspired. And, and then, like I said, that's where I really thought of this idea of like, the problem is real estate agents think of their database way too small. And I'm not talking about number wise. I'm talking about, you're not thinking about how you can use this database for the benefit of other people and yourself at the same time, like what Ryan and I have been talking about. So that's what I would say. Just start small, and it'll come. It'll but Rome wasn't built in a day. Success is not built in a day. But you just, and like you referenced someone earlier about they did 3 events, didn't have good success, and it was that 4th event that got them through that. And so make sure you got that passion, because it's the passion that will bring you to success. And hard work, of course.
So the best piece, my best advice is, I have 2. One is learn the micro farming tool, learn any type of farming, okay? Whether it's a farming strategy from Ryan or it's ours or somebody's, right? Just start doing this, because it will work. If you fail the first time, just keep going with it. Don't give up. A lot of agents will try something once, and if it doesn't work immediately, they give up. Sometimes it's just you sent too few of cards. Maybe it was just the wrong neighborhood. So it's really not a one and done project. I want you to like give this your all. Get some help if you need to before that. But my second piece of advice, which is the best advice I can give any agent, is to focus on getting listing appointments every single week. Have a goal for how many listing appointments you have to have on your calendar every week. Because if you create listing appointments for yourself, the rest will all take care of itself. Because we're going on listing appointments, and I don't mean the ones where you're signing the docs. Those are great. Even the pre-listing listing appointments are important. So talk to people, focus on appointment setting, and focus on listings, and focus on going after, even if you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. You're new, you're experienced, and you've always worked with buyers. you can work with 3 sellers to every 1 buyer.
Yeah.
On a time cost analysis when you look at your ROI on your time. So all you have to do is master the art of talking to a seller, and you won't be scared of sellers anymore. And you'll actually realize that the agents who focus on listings have more time.
Yep.
They are less chaos. They're not run ragged. It's a different challenge. It's a different conversation. But every time I put a sign up, I'm probably going to make a commission. I'm going to make a sale, most likely. And with a buyer, it's just, you just never know. And especially
Yes.
in the last few months, or 18 months, it's been like, my goodness, the number of people have told us, I have to now, after 15 years, I focus on buyers. Now I understand. It's not too late. You can learn it. If you're new, focus on listings, but have a goal to get your first 10 listings. I know that sounds crazy, but it's really not. I listed 27 houses my first year.
Wow.
Without a sphere. Like I didn't have anybody referring anything to me.
Yeah.
So you can do whatever you want. And just have that attitude that, I'm going to list to sell a house this week. I just don't know the address yet. That's my best advice. And
Awesome.
I wish everybody the best. Love it.
Oh gosh, there's 100 things I could say, but I think the number one thing for anybody who's listening is you can't not do it, right?
Yeah.
So rip the Band-Aid off and start doing it, even if it sucks in the beginning, right? Even if you're just like, I don't like the templates that I'm making. I feel like my content doesn't look good. I feel like no one's seeing it. Change your vocabulary and just ditch all of those, fears or internal things where you think to yourself, like, nobody will care. Right? Or nobody cares what I'm eating for dinner. Like, you don't know that,
Yeah.
right? I posted in stories the other day of homemade chicken piccata that I made, for my husband after a long day of work. And people are like, where's the recipe? Right? And what did it do? It just created a ton of conversations for me,
Yep.
right? In my DMs about chicken piccata that I thought nobody would care about. Right? So I want people to, my advice is ditch the excuses and do it anyway. And what will happen is that as you start to do it and you start to see, I don't like the way that looks, I don't like the way this looks, that's how you get better, right? That's how we get better as, people that are trying to create careers out of this, right? Ryan, you're a great example. I'm a great example. Like, we didn't get where we've gotten by not making mistakes in the past, right?
Yep.
The key is we got it out there in the first place. And then we learned from getting it out there to say, I could have done this better, or I could have done that better. But so many people just don't start. That how can you get better if there's nothing for you to learn from?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So if you don't like the way you look in a video, because if you feel like it shows your double chin, then maybe it's just a video angle and it's a super simple, fix.
Yep.
But like, how are you going to know that if you don't do the video in the first place?
Exactly.
So, that's my anthem for 2022 for people. It's like, nobody cares that you don't like the way your hair looks today.
Yeah, it's great advice, because it's so true that so many agents stop because they want it to be perfect, and they look at the final product when they see a big an influencer or someone who's got a lot of followers and go, oh, I couldn't do that. It's like, well, they didn't start there. They started small and they scaled up, and you can scale up and scale to whatever level you want to. So
join our Facebook group and learn about the real agents of change. We are the only ones you're going to get this information from. You can Google till the cows come home about charitable gifting of real estate. And you can certainly go out. You can take a year and a half to learn about it, like I did. Or you can just come learn about it from us. We boiled it down to exactly what's, and the way that I'm speaking it is layman terms.
Yep.
United States government said, hey, property owner, you get tax benefits. Look, there's codes and there's specific verbiage, and you can go through all that stuff, but why not just come to the people who've actually learned how it works?
Yep.
And you can now get involved in legacy listings as we are promoting the book that's coming out, as we are promoting the month that is becoming the awareness raiser for everyone involved. We are a community of visionary thought leaders who want to cultivate culture of collaboration. We don't understand competition. If you want to be in a group of people who wants to support you and give you ideas as to how your cause, your community, your career, and your company can grow from charitable gifting of real estate, we're it, bro.
Awesome.
My best piece of advice, whether you're using, our marketing system, or even if you wanted to do this on your own, it's not, you could go out there and you could put templates together. But my best piece of advice is a very simple one, and that is consistency. Doing it consistently is going to get you the best results. And I know, especially as realtors, sometimes it's like, I need more listings. What am I going to do? If you just go in there and you make it a consistent habit, maybe, every Tuesday, or maybe twice a week, every Tuesday and every Thursday, you're going out there and you're doing something, whether you're farming, whether you're just sending out a direct mail piece. There's so many leads that pop in all the time. And it's not like you're going to win every FSBO. It's not like you're going to convert every expired over to you. And I think agents, it's a business that with a lot of ups and downs, obviously, maybe you work with a customer, a client for 2 months, and then they say, screw it, we're not going to sell. We're not getting what we want. All that time is wasted. Right. And it's very disheartening at times. So that's why I think consistency is so important, because you've got to stay in the game. You've got to be doing something consistently. And when the times are good, go mail out some direct mail pieces. If you're an Authorify member, mail out your book, mail out your instant trust package. When the times are bad, mail out some direct mail pieces, call some people. So whatever marketing system you're going to go along with, do it consistently. And that's how you're going to, it's like the power of compound interest, it's going to continue to build on itself and build on itself and build on itself. And that's how you become one of those agents. We all know those agents that have just been like, it's like they've been in the business for, years, and they just sell 20 homes a year and they make $500,000 and their life is great. And it doesn't seem like they're working super, super hard, but they've just consistently just been stacking up, building more relationships. And that's one of the other reasons I think our product is a great product, is it's a great relationship building product. When you show up and you offer somebody 100 pages of helpful content, it's a different approach than, cold calling, beating them over the head and pressuring them. And it's really going to make them a warmer client that's going to want to stick around and refer you deals for years to come.
The absolute best thing I could ever direct you to, you'll have to write this one down, okay? It's getsellerscallingyou.com. I have a link on there called free offer. And one of the things we did early on in the working in geographic farming is I did 21 split marketing tests with an additional 38 messaging tests, over 2 million postcards mailed, identifying what actually works. We found 3 or 4 things that produced over 800% increase over the control group.
Wow.
That means if I get 1 listing with a control group, I'll get 8 listings with the tested group. We found 3 of those things. Other things that produce between 2 and 3 and 400%. Okay. And so on that free offer is a short video I did, and I show you the actual things we tested. And we show the control and the test and the actual results increase. So if you're going to do any marketing, you've got to be able to get your marketing out in a way that it produces the highest results.
Yep.
And that free offer will tell you what those things are. Also at the website, getsellerscallingyou.com, I do a lot of other teaching and training on anything generated on getting sellers. So I think you'll enjoy it.
I would say trust the process. I would say if you're going to do this, it takes 2 years. You might feel in 6 months it's not getting anywhere, but it just really takes time. You got to stick with it, and you be doing it because you enjoy it, not because it's bringing you business. Let that happen. In terms of being at the events, if you want to be at the event so you can be present and get more business, wrong reason. If you enjoy that charity, you enjoy the event, and you can be there as yourself. Yeah. Even at these events, we're not going to talk about real estate. People, nope. Let's talk about this tomorrow. This is about this charity. This is about this event. So I think pick things you really enjoy and be there with your team and truly enjoy it. So I'd say for sure. And then if you want to build a team of some sort, decide whether you're actually a leader, whether you want the stress of being a leader, and really what your goals are. And if you can fully trust just to give the business away, and what you give, you get, and you it all returns, and everyone's doing the best they can for the bigger picture, which is the brand. So stick with it and decide what you really want in real estate before you take that next step. Decide your time, your hours. You want partners? Do you want employees? Do you want other agents to work with? What do you want? Really think about what that looks and feels like every day, and set, lofty goals, but reasonable goals. Take your time with it.
The thing that I wish I would have done a long time ago is to hire a marketing person earlier. So I don't care what type of question you would ask me. If you would say, what would you do differently, whether it's to do with farming or not, that's always my answer, is hire a marketing person sooner. That's my number one.
Awesome. Great. That's great advice.
If they want to get into networking
for their farm and in their business and their community.
Yeah, I would say if you have the free time in the evenings, go to One Referral Away at YouTube, because I got hours and hours and hours and hours of training for real estate. So One Referral Away at YouTube. Start by cold calling, and your goal in life is to get out of it as soon as possible. You need to have tough skin. You need to learn how to smile when you're essing in your pants, and you don't want to do it. And do it before it gets too hot and your shoes are melting or before the snow is. So start with cold calling and just figure out how to start having coffee with people who already have your client.
Yeah.
And in that is about 15 hours of training to teach all of that. But that's just help people door knock and get out of door knocking as soon as possible and find people who already have your client.
Yeah, that's great
That's
advice.
Any other answer, Ryan's going to take an hour.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good summary, good short version of that. That's awesome.
So I have a lot of advice. I'm a pretty terrible salesperson to try to pitch the product, because genuinely, if you're not going to pick up the phone, or if you're not going to go knock on the door and you're not going to do stuff, then don't waste your money with RedX or any other system like that. Right. And if you're starting from zero, don't buy anything. Just go out and start knocking doors and gather the names and phone numbers yourself. You don't, you don't need, but the advice I would give is back to, if real estate is notorious for feast or famine, right? People, and that's on an individual basis. There's all the memes that are making fun of this, right? You're either living the high life or you're scraping by, and we're about helping people create sustainability. And so the advice I would have is consistency, consistency over intensity, consistency over anything else. It's just, you don't have to go, you know what, I'm going to farm and that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to do it for 4 hours a day. And you don't have to do that. Why don't you just try to talk to 5 people you don't know every day in a neighborhood? That's it, right? But you do that consistent enough and you will see the results. So consistency and then patience to see the results, because the tried and true stuff, it's like weight loss. I mean, there's a new fandangled app or pill or anything, but you know what? If you just eat right and exercise and you do that consistently, you start to get healthy. It's like this mind-blowing concept. And in our business, you just talk to a few people you don't know, get to know a neighborhood really well. Over time, you're going to be like, wow, I'm top 5 in the area, top 1 in my market, because you were consistent over time.
Exactly. That's great advice. And it's so true, but people want that instant results, and it's hard to switch human behavior, because if they just realize that they would have way more success. And again, in the long run, it will pay them dividends. So, which is awesome.
Work on your skill set of listening to develop connection. Do it in areas that are low barrier, low threat. So you're not really attached to it. Play around with this and like go to Starbucks, work on building rapport with someone you've never met there, right? Go to a wedding and talk to the guy who works at a drywall factory. Like, places where it doesn't matter. Like if it goes bad, if you're attached to how it's going to go, it's bad. And then the second piece of it, because I can't just give one piece of advice. So number one is work on that skill set for connection. The second set is be consistent. Be consistent. Truly, with farming, with anything in real estate. Like, I can't tell you how many agents I've seen that have started doing something and given up right before they're about to have some pretty big success, or started going and they didn't nearly go. It's just about staying consistent. Once you pick a path, you can always pivot. You can always move it. Just pick a path, go for it.
That's awesome. Great advice. And hopefully your viewers listen to that and take that to heart and go out and practice it.
Well, I would suggest that you really go deep within yourself and have a meeting with yourself and decide, what are you best at? What are you best at? Are you confident to talk, let's say, on video? I know that many build confidence. With me at the beginning, I was not confident, but I was always in the media before, so it didn't come to me with great difficulty. But what are you comfortable at? What can you improve on? And really know who you are, and definitely be real. And people will know that. And then the business will come slowly. Yeah. Just talk it up the way you best do. Don't shove it into anybody's face, because people really will run away. Yeah. It just comes up organically. Yeah. That would be general. It's more of a deep think, I say.
That's great advice.
I think, targeting the data to fit your success or your needs, and then not putting all your eggs in that one basket. So, getting really targeted with what you want to go after with a couple of different segments or groups. I think, having a diversified prospect audience is something that's going to be beneficial. Yep. But it's putting the work in is the biggest piece of advice that we talked about. And finding maybe an audience that the competition isn't going after, and a lot of it could be neighborhood based or geographic based, but really honing in on what your expertise is and becoming that quote unquote brain surgeon instead of that family practitioner. It takes some work, but relationships like you, Ryan, and Jared here can help people along the way, I think.
Yeah, that totally ties into exactly what I teach, and that's huge. And I think becoming that expert is so important, figuring out what you enjoy, what you're good at, where you can be an expert at, and not trying to be an expert in something you know nothing about, but using tools and systems like yours or mine to really help you speed that up and become that is going to be
absolutely critical. And then become sustainable, right? Like, and be able to rinse and repeat,
exactly.
And it's good to have those immediate successes, but how do you create a long-term strategy with it? But
exactly.
Do what you love what you do, right? That's first. And then if you want to be the most referred professional in a community, be the most generous professional in the community. So every one of our events have a charity arm to them. We believe that all events should have 3 components, and I would say 3.5. 3 is entertainment component, educational component, and a charity component. And then the half is a sponsor component. I believe in partnering with sponsors. I mean, what if you could make money making money?
Yeah.
Right. What if you could make money getting referrals? I mean, that's essentially what you're doing with events and having them sponsored. And then, remembering that the appreciative one is the one that seems to increase in worth, and that, what you appreciate appreciates. And, I believe that it's time to, I think it's really time in our world, and I think it's already happening, to replace this insatiable appetite for what we don't want with an insatiable appreciation for what we do have. Right. And I think that's kind of the final words of wisdom is we all have the resources to be successful. It's how we're utilizing them and how we're seeing them. Are we seeing our negatives as positives? Are we seeing our weaknesses as strengths? And that's, my weakness was I didn't like to talk to strangers. I'm an introvert. So what I did is I took my weakness and made it a strength. Me being an introvert, what do I need? I need extroverts in my life. And here's what extroverts will do. They'll talk about you. And if you do it right. And the thing is that that's more powerful than an extrovert talking about himself. So now we've got this system where we create ambassadors and champions who speak highly of us and refer us willingly, and they want to do that. They help us. And I think the biggest thing about referrals that people need is it doesn't have to happen slow. You literally could meet one-on-one with somebody today and walk out of that meeting with a referral today.
Yeah.
We have a system that doesn't just get referrals from your sphere, but you can actually get referrals from strangers, and I think that's the power of it is, I never wanted to wait around for a referral. Like, How do we go make it happen? You know, without asking for referrals, without making other people feel awkward. And the answer is, don't make people feel awkward. Make people feel awesome.
Yeah.
And the more people you make feel awesome, the more referrals you'll get. So
awesome. That's all great advice. That's awesome for our viewers, and hopefully they'll take that to heart and then put that in practice in their business.
Well, so I always say a budget. And I think because for me, you know, looking at a geographic area, you want to look at turnover rates, you want to look at the size of the farm, the average price point, because you want to decide, is this a good place to launch my business? Not I live here and I love it and it's a great community, but you know, there's 20 homes sell annually. And even if you got 25% of those, it's probably not going to pay your bills unless, you know, it's $4 or $5 million price range, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, don't lead with emotion, lead with business. And does this make sense? And like I said, it's not always going to make sense, because if I would have looked at mine, I probably would have talked myself out of it. But for me, it was like, I know in a few years, this is untouched area that I can dominate this if I do the right things. And so, but then budget. And the reason I mentioned budget is because you need to set aside, if you think, okay, with newsletter, postage, it's going to cost me, you know, you can put in EDDM, it'll tell you how much the postage will be. And for those routes, and you go, okay, it's going to cost me $1,000 a month. You need to earmark $12,000, and it'd be great if you took it out of an account, went to your bank and created a farm account and just put it in there. And every month you just pay for your next newsletter, whether or not money comes in or not. And to me, you got to set a 12-month plan, because this doesn't happen overnight, but neither does real farming. It takes time for things to develop and happen. So I think there's those, you know, there's a book called 3 Feet from Gold, right? And it's like, you're right there, but you quit because nobody had called you that month. And then by month 3, most are like, I just spent $3,000. This is stupid. I could have bought leads, and I'm going, I'm gonna try it for 3 more months and 3 more months while you're still doing some of the other stuff. And by the way, you can get a lender to help with a little bit, or you know, there's other ways to help. But if you're going to be in business in 2 years, 3 years down the road, what would it be like if you just started really working in an area and put a foundation under your business that can then grow from there? And to me, then, you know, all the activities they teach and all these courses and everything out there, you know, prospecting and all this stuff, by the way, you still do all that in your farm. You're just focused on it. And then you look up and you're like, okay, this business isn't like starting over the first of every year going, okay, what gimmick am I going to try this year? What, you know, or you can't, unless your database is big enough and you're really in that much touch with your database, it's hard to count on that every year to create growth and build a big business. There's people who do it at a very, very high level. And I applaud them. And I think we do it at a pretty good level. But I think you have to have more than one lever there to be growing if you want to go, like I said earlier, from I to we to they. So, you know, I do it to we do it to eventually they do it, but you still are earning a residual income off of the business that you started.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's something I'm a big proponent in believing in start with your budget. That's something I teach all the time. You have to have that budget figured out, because that's going to dictate what you do, when you do, how you do it. And you have to have it set aside. So that's awesome. So we always wrap up.
You're trying to find money every month.
Exactly.
And you're going to go do something else with it, like Amazon or who knows what, right? And so you just create a purpose.
I would say don't overthink it. If that's something you want to do, just start somewhere small, get your feet wet, and always do something you're interested in. Do something you're interested in, something you have to spend time on doing anyway, so it's sort of a double shot, and really get your feet wet there and see where that leads you to the next one if you enjoyed doing it. And if you don't enjoy doing it, then don't do it. Do something else. If your thing's about going to the gym, go to the gym. Like everybody's got their own thing. Don't have an expectation and start small.
That's great advice, and easy as long as you just stick with it and you
That's right.
follow the advice. It's well worth it.
So I'm not sure that this is specific to trying to build your business, but it is something that my very first broker in real estate used to say all the time. And in full disclosure, I don't think I appreciated it as much then. But now, a decade later, and he's no longer with us, and it's the piece that I sort of hang on to. It's actually framed in our office. And he used to say, first things first, second things never, always wait to worry. And I would literally be like, you'd have a deal blowing up, you'd have somebody like yelling at you, something terrible. And he would go, now listen, first things first, second things never, always wait to worry. And you were like, huh?
Yeah.
You literally be like, please leave. Like nothing you said is helpful. But 100% helpful. Like so many times, right? You get off the phone and you're like, well, that was a disaster. I'm just waiting for like everything to blow up. And I can't count the number of times that I've just been like, wait to worry. Like it's not a problem until it's really a problem. Just wait to worry. And I think that's a big one, and it applies to everything, but specifically in a people-based business like real estate. What I love about real estate is it's never the same twice. What I hate about real estate is it's never the same.
Exactly.
So there's no such thing as mastering it, because the human element's always going to change it. So you can do everything right and someone still might throw you a curveball. But what you can do is you can wait to worry until there's actually something worth worrying about.
Go to medical school instead.
Exactly.
No, farming. No, obviously, listen, I don't want to sound like I'm sort of, kissing up, but you've got a great system that you built. And I was sort of the guinea pig along with a special group of people to sort of test it out. And it's a fantastic system. The one thing that I'll say is it can be very overwhelming because there's so much of it. There's so much that you can do with a farm. These days, digitally and physically, and be how involved you want to be. Make sure that you are able, or maybe have some help, have an assistant, but even by yourself, figure out what it is you're willing to do to create that complete plan. Right. With anything, the system always wins. I've always learned that, and I suck at systems, and that's why I'm telling you, you need to just give in. And learn it or take it from somebody else and just manipulate it to make it work for you. But systems are king with everything, with database, with farming, with calling, with online leads. It does not matter. Systems are king. So the number one piece of advice I can give people is find the right system around the 2 or 3 pillars of business that you want to go after. To back it up a little bit, do one pillar at a time.
Yes, 100%.
I would say database is automatic, so don't count that as like a one at a time. Database plus one, okay?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Whatever that is, and then build the systems around it to a point where it's starting to go, it's starting to move like a machine and develop momentum, and then you can start to add other things. Don't do too many things at once because none of it will work. You really have to set your focus at that one thing at a time, and then add it as you start to get the results that you want. Then add something else in. So systems, and don't take on too much at once.
Yeah, it's great advice, and it's personal experience and learned experience and wisdom that's passed on. And if you take it to heart and you follow, it will absolutely benefit everyone who does that, because that system is going to make a difference, and that focus will keep you on track and making sure you're doing the right thing. So that's awesome.
Well, first of all, I just looked at the clock. I can't believe what time it is already. It's like really flown by. This has been awesome. I really appreciate you having me on. I'll have to have you on my show. But so a piece of advice is, like we said before, just get started. You don't even have to release your first couple of videos if you're not comfortable, but you need to at least start making them. So, you can make a couple and you could send it to your significant other or other agents at your brokerage, or if you have a manager, start making stuff and just kind of slowly showing it to people and, get some feedback, so you get some advice, because it's definitely an adjustment. It's definitely like a learning process. So like I said, you can make stuff. You don't necessarily have to release it. If you're comfortable with it, then just go ahead and release it. But yeah, you definitely want to just get started. And everything revolves around video. So you could remix a video like 5-10 different ways. You can even, all the time, we'll take a video, we'll get it transcribed and turn it into a blog post. You could take like a quote from your video that you said and turn it into an image for social media. So everything really revolves around video. And like we said, video could be turned into audio as well. So really it comes down to video. And I don't think a lot of people realize that you could simply use Zoom. Like, you're in your house, it looks great, looks like a nice house. So if you have a nice setup, like you could just, you should have a nice setup. You can put your sign in the back or whatever. So, you can use, if you're going to do shorter videos for social media, you can use your cell phone. If you have a marketing person or an assistant and you don't want to film yourself, they can film you with their phone. So yeah, get started with that, and, use Zoom for longer form videos. you can really just incorporate video. It can just help you so much. You can, maybe you get asked the same question 100 times. Well, make a video about that, make an FAQ section on your website, put that video on there. And then you could tell people, hey, if you have, watch these videos. And then if you still have a question, come back and let me know. So
exactly.
There's that too. And then the last part just goes back to what we talk about is figure out who you are, who your audience is, and what type of content you can make. And then, jot some ideas down, keep adding to it, and then just start making content.
Yeah, it's great advice. Just got to listen to it and go do it, and you'll see the results.
So the first piece of advice, if there's any real estate agents that are in the Durham region and you have a client that's getting rid of an abandoned house, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you for Halloween. Because we're always looking for abandoned old houses, stuff that's not going to be too dilapidated that will fall down. But if I could give any advice, it would be just, it's not going to be a home run every time. And the faster you understand that, there are good investments and there are bad investments. But if you're always going with something that works, find 2 or 3 things that work and cycle through them. So don't always do the same thing. So if you find that a program's working with a restaurateur or a mortgage broker company, don't just keep doing the same thing and only doing that. So if you want to do it every year because you like the consistency of it and people are expecting it, then you have to add other things to the mix. So keep the portfolio fresh, keep the ideas running. So that would be the first piece of advice. And then the other piece of advice would be like, just don't give up. Understand that, there are a lot of people buying houses and I don't have to tell you, the market is kind of crazy and stuff. But it's the people that aren't buying the houses that are the ones that need the most help. So if you can find a way to focus on the community's most vulnerable and the community's most needy, that is where you should focus your attention, because then that will put a much more positive spotlight than only supporting the people that are purchasing from you or selling with you. Because those people's situations could change tomorrow and they'll never forget the act of charity or the act of kindness. So just don't only focus on the people buying and selling with you, but focus on the community as a whole, and you'll reap the rewards.
I wholeheartedly. It's good advice, because a lot of people, like you said, they focus on that who's paying the bills, and you got to focus on who needs the help in the community. And that's part of why I teach geographic farming. This is what I teach, is to really look at the community as a whole and say, what can I do to make an impact, and how can I give back, and how can I create value for everyone here and create a better place to live. And by doing that and focusing your attention on multiple things, you're going to reap the rewards and be able to grow. So
and just because person A may not be ready to buy a house today, that doesn't mean that they don't have a family member or a friend or a cousin whom someone who's at arm's length from you that you would never have met. So you positioning yourself to help the entire community, eventually that world of mouth, it's not even word of mouth anymore, that world of mouth is going to become so exponentially bigger for you, because you're reaching people that you never would have reached before, or that potentially you would have discounted because they're not immediately in your buyers or sellers list, right? Focusing outside of your list is, although it may not make you your percentages now, it will pay itself off in the future for sure. 100%.
That's awesome. Awesome advice.
I would say, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try things. And I guess that it's back to that, always be learning thing. Just get out there, see what other people are doing, and don't be afraid to try stuff and see what happens and experiment with it. It's funny because I think a lot of the, real estate education, or, when people are talking to you about your business plan for marketing, it'll be like, okay, know that you only have X dollars to spend, and that's got to deliver this, and that's got to get you Y. And I'm like, I don't do that. Some of my stuff is really at the seat of my pants. Like so I just feel like you can almost overplan And it's like, yes, you do want to have a plan a bit, but some of it needs to just, sometimes you just kind of, you do need to wing it, to experiment, to try things. So yeah, but it's always good to look to other experts and see what other people are doing, because they can always give you ideas. There's another agent in my office that's very prominent in his neighborhood, and he is always doing promotions in his neighborhood, and they're great ideas, but it's like, oh, I should have thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's great advice. And again, I think it's important for agents to do that. They got to get uncomfortable and getting out and stepping out and trying stuff. And sometimes it is trying something new that you didn't think was going to work, or just putting it out there and seeing what happens. Because if you're super rigid, then you can miss opportunities. And timing is a big one too, where something happens like COVID happens, you got to shift and adapt and change how you do things. And there are opportunities that can happen in an instant where it's like, hey, there's this opportunity now because of pop culture or whatever, that something happens, was like, hey, I can capitalize on that. So you have to be ready to shift if you need to. So that's great advice.
Well, I think as it relates to social media, you know, you really have to become a consumer in a different way. Most of you listening, you get on TikTok, you go down the rabbit hole, and then an hour's gone by and you've been wildly entertained. Don't get me wrong. But what I recommend is, you know, commit, right? So pick a platform, pick one platform. Don't go all six. One platform and go all in on that platform, and make a commitment to, in the next 6 months, to get to a point that you're posting every single day. But it starts with choosing that platform. Then you have to become a consumer, an intentional consumer. So you want to start searching for what is it you want to put out? Is it funny real estate posts? Well, search it. Is it just real estate in general? Is it real estate educational? Like, the algorithms are so damn smart and everything's cataloged. You can go find this stuff. Then define your pillars of content. So most people, they commit, they'll find the platform and then they'll say, I don't know what to post about. So create this. I literally keep a list and I update it regularly. And so I have pillars. There's business, and then there's sub pillars underneath it. What do I want to talk about within the business? There's personal. What's underneath the personal? Well, it's family, it's travel, it's golf, it's fitness and diet. So figure it out what it is you want to be. And then like literally tape that thing to the wall next to your computer. So when you're sitting there one day saying, shit, I haven't posted in a couple of days, let me get back to my list. Oh yeah, that's right.
That's great.
And so that's what I would suggest doing, because you want to get to a point that you're posting to social media every single day. Build that into your cadence, just like you build in prospecting, cold calling. You set aside 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Start doing the same thing for social media, except this is super critical. You've got to be disciplined.
Yes.
And when you open up that app, don't go down rabbit holes. You gotta be very disciplined to the plan.
Get in and get out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
More relationship-based marketing. I'm going to say the same thing you said from everybody else. It's consistency. Get purposeful and do it, and then get accountable, because you will fall off. I took on a new role as coaching. My numbers are going to stink in 6 weeks. they are going to stink, because I track my contacts and they're not there. I've fallen behind on tracking. And so you've got to be purposeful. You have to make friends with the boredom. Yeah. That part, it just is. It's a system.
It's great advice, but it's not advice people want to hear, because they want something magical, and it's just be consistent with it and do it. And
there's no magic button.
That's awesome.
Just you need to be out there. You need to, and people, we can call it door knocking or whatever else, but at the end of the day, people, door knocking is a little bit abrasive these days, to be realistic. Find a way to create an event. Like, we do blog parties, right? If you really want to meet people, and it could be just like, hey guys, we're going to have a happy hour in our cul-de-sac this Friday from 5 to 7. We'd love to meet you guys. We're new here, or whatever else. And even if you're not new, you're new to them.
Yep.
So if you've lived in the neighborhood 5 years, you've met 5 people. Well, guess what? You're new to the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
My best advice is you have to put yourself in a position of being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you do that, create some video content. And don't just, if you listen to Nick Krim or Nick Good or those guys, they talk about this a lot. And they're, obviously the XP agents, so I'm going to latch on to them. But, the thing that they talk about is like, just, when you create videos, it's more engaging, right? I mean, we all know this, but even your own neighborhood, if you're in the neighborhood group, it's not yours or whatever else, go live. If it's a real estate agent that runs it, you know what? Sometimes they're going to be protective of that. It's okay to start your own.
Yep.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but my best piece of advice is find a way to get in front of people so that way you can build those relationships. There's a book called Primary Colors, and I'm not recommending this book because it's a fictional account of the Clinton campaign in '92. And one of the things that I latched onto, and that Bill Clinton was extremely good at, again, I'm not a political guy. This is just based on this account of what he did. That was very good. People liked him. Guy was president, so obviously people liked him.
Yeah.
But when he would get out in these communities, in these small communities, and when he would meet people, and he would do a thing, to shake their hand with one hand, and he would touch them by the arm, and it's that almost like a hugging. It's that connection, and it's something I always latched onto. So when I meet people now, I mean, I've got to be a little bit out of left field here, but when we shake hands, it's not just about how you doing, I'm Chris. It's about, hey, it's about engaging. When you have your hand on somebody, you're looking eye to eye with that person.
Yeah.
Think about that in terms of, not necessarily have to do something like that, but you're getting yourself out there in community to where you're actually connecting with these people. That was a connection.
Yeah.
Block parties are great. Driveway happy hours are great. Sponsor a donut drive. Hey, we're gonna do donuts in the neighborhood. If you're interested, come on by. And sponsor these things. It takes some time. It might take you 2, 3, 4, 5 times to get it right.
Yeah.
But the more you do it, people are going to recognize you, and the more people are going to start building relationships with you. Invite the guys out for drinks. Invite the girls out for drinks. Let's go out to the sports bar, watch a ball game. Who wants to go with? Things like that.
Yeah.
Just get out there.
Exactly. And it comes down to those relationships, like you said, which is huge. So,
okay. So for video, it's just like, I can give you the obvious advice is like, get over yourself. Just do it. It's not about you. It's about what you are saying. I don't personally turn on the news because I love X newscaster. I'm turning on the news to listen to the news, So if you are giving good content, people will keep showing up. So it's about what you're saying, not what you look like.
Yep.
And if you don't want to put out stuff for everybody, that's okay. The videos that are going to get you more appointments are 1-to-1 anyways.
Yeah. There's
no editing. It's a one shot. You send your clients. You don't like it, do it again. That's what I would do. And then with the farming, I would just make sure, first of all, and I'm sure, you can teach this way better than I can, make sure you know your numbers.
Yes.
What's the turnover rate? What's the potential commission available? Like, what are all of those things? And what's your runway of how much are you willing to spend for how long before you give up, because you shouldn't give up, but you can tweak right along the way, like what's working, what's not working. But for me, for farming, it's like, I didn't get into that until I knew I was getting a minimum 15% return from my database. But when I say 15% return, like my database now 8 years in is only 300 people. Like it's a really tight, I've got another list, right? Like a big list, but that's the core. So 15 sales per 100 people in the database. I think once you get to that, then you can go financially, I'm okay. I can now put it into more passive marketing. And farming's not truly passive, but you get what I mean. Yeah. It's more like swipe the Visa card, get the postcards out, not physically show up to everything. So just the patience is huge.
Awesome. Yeah. I tell agents all the time, you got to have a plan, and you got to be willing to stick with it and be able to be capable of sticking with it long term. Because if you're trying and hoping, it's like you have to have that plan in place and the patience to do it. So
yeah. Well, we've given a whole bunch of advice. So what I would say is, my friend Brian Curtis, who's also my co-host, likes to say this. He says, my half-ass plan executed is way better than your perfect plan not executed. Right. So just do it. Either start with your first thing now and do it in an ugly way, or add whatever next idea is that you have, layer it in there, do it ugly, and start measuring the results.
Yeah, it's great advice.
That's a hard one. Other than read my book. Can I plug the book?
Yeah.
No, I would say I would say it would be to think outside the box. Kind of strip down all of that. Strip down all of that stuff that we're kind of pre-programmed after being in real estate for so long, and really remember that results take results don't take time, they take courage. So a lot of the time we get held back because we're scared of something and we don't feel brave enough to make a change, or something is scary. And, you know, that's the whole point. You're an entrepreneur. You got into business because you have a higher risk tolerance than someone working an office job. So, you know, take the risks, take calculated risks, get clear on your vision, and be courageous.
That's awesome.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes and look stupid. That's the whole point.
That's
you
how
get to
grow.
learn from it.
Yep. And that's when you get people saying you're lucky, must be nice because you took the risks and they didn't.
Well, exactly.
I would say, based on what you were just talking about, there is kind of this disconnect of what we would do and think about content. We suddenly think about content and what to post, and it becomes, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to speak, right? So let me reframe, because it's helpful when we go back into physical versus digital. One of the things that we do, hopefully, when we are talking to people, whether it's at their home or at a cocktail party or whatever, is we were taught to ask questions and be curious and don't just talk about yourself, right? So the hard part is we want to talk about ourselves, we want to share our stories, and we should. The way that you can combine those together is to ask someone a question. So maybe you are, I don't know, terrified of flying. So instead of maybe just stating that you're terrified of flying, why don't you talk about, hey, is anybody out there afraid of flying? I am. What are your best tips? So asking a question is always a great way to develop connection, bring your own story into a conversation where someone else can be invited in to start that engagement. So I think asking questions and being curious, if you have an idea or if you have a story that you want to share, think about, if I was at someone's house, what would I say? Like, I might just blurt it out, but I might just say, hey, has this ever happened to you? And kind of start in that manner.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's very important, and it gets people engaged. And that's the key to good social media is engagement. Like I said, not just the pushing. So that's huge. So
you got to get started. You know, I hear all the time, I'm going to go when I learn the scripts. I'm going to go when I get a flyer. I'm going to go. Just go. Get a business card and go. And don't think too much about it, because if you think too much about it, it's intimidating. And just go say hello. I don't know what to say. Hello. Hi. My name is, I work with, and I'm just coming by to say hi. I sell houses. I don't want to sell. Wonderful. My response to that, I don't want to sell. It's okay. I'm not looking to buy. Well, you know, they're going to carry me out in a pine box. I hope not too soon. I mean, what do you can take this really serious, or you can carry on a conversation. Say, hi, my name is Stephen Green with Park Regency. Here's some information on the neighborhood. I don't want that. Oh, you don't want some really good information about your neighborhood? You know, about what they sold? Oh, okay, just leave it. Okay, wonderful. Thanks. Have a great day. Look forward to seeing you again real soon. I mean, just
super easy.
But go. The best advice is go and never stop going. And along with that best advice, I have agents who here at Park Regency will say, well, I got to get back into it. So why'd you stop? And even if you did stop, why are you telling your mind you stopped? It's okay to take the day off or a week off. The owner of the company will say that's built into the plan. If you knock every day for a year, you're entitled to take a day or two off. That's built in. But when you start telling yourself, I'm going to go tomorrow, I didn't go today, I'm going to go tomorrow. Now all of a sudden your mind is saying, I got to start over again. And it took 5 years to build this up, and I got to start over. I don't want to start over again. Just go. Don't think too much, and don't stop.
That's great. Totally agree with that. It's consistency is the key, and just get going with it and keep rolling with it. So
consistency. No matter what you do, even if you don't use my newsletters, do whatever you're doing, do it consistently and try and be there, be present for it. I'm not a big fan of completely automated marketing. It's okay to automate, but you also need to be present. You need to be the wizard behind the curtain, so to speak. So consistently and being present.
That's so impactful and so important. Again, this is almost 90 episodes I've recorded, and the number one advice is consistency. It's just that if you can take anything home, just be consistent with what you're doing. So
do the data, do the analysis, take the step back, and what I do with my agents too is goal setting every year. Analyze your business, find out where your business is coming from, number one, and you can find out where you're successful. Is it in person? Is it over the phone? Whatever, is it referral? Double down on that stuff. The farm's additional, but take all those deals that you've done and maybe look at doing a farm around all those deals you've already done. Those are already your success points. That's where you've had success, and you can speak of that success to those people and speak about those people or those situations or that transaction. That's important when you're on a listing appointment. But the data is everything. Take some time and reflect. Like I always say, September 1 is the start of the year. You're not starting the year January 1. If you're starting the year in your mindset, January 1, you're already 3 months behind.
Yeah.
You have to start now. You have to start in the fall. This is the time where you look at the bottom part of your business, you find ways to reinvest, you cut things that maybe aren't, giving you good ROI. But doing a farm, I feel, is one of the first layers of the foundation. You're going to be building other layers too at the same time. You have to be strategic in this business if you want to stay around long term. And this is a way where you can almost put it on cruise control. It becomes an autopilot thing if you work with the right company, where literally I just get an email with a proof with all the information. I just have to kind of look through it, boom, approve it, it goes out. There's great companies out there that help you out with doing the farming aspect of it. You don't have to be like me when I first started trying, because I'm a creative and I love marketing and advertising. I felt I had to put it together, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'd be lucky to do 2 a year. Mine go out every single month. And the amount of homes that I go into when they call me in and they have every single piece saved.
Yeah.
There's strategy behind that too, as far as how to get them to save those pieces.
Yeah. That's a whole nother show we could talk about, because that's
Absolutely.
something I'm passionate about, is keep getting people to hold on to what you do instead of just chucking it in the garbage. So yeah, that's
absolutely
awesome.
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
We live in a technology age now where there's incredible content creators who are doing amazing things, and I think that can be a significant roadblock to somebody who is not that well versed in video content or creation. That's going to stop them dead in their tracks from even attempting to do it, because they're like, it's not going to be as good as that person, and so therefore I'm not going to do it. Done is better than perfect. Do it, and over time perfection will become an art form that you learn.
That's great advice.
Yeah, yes,
Awesome.
I love that advice. I give myself that advice every day. Just do it, and over time you're going to improve. Over time you're going to get better. But if you don't do it at all, you're never going to improve.
Yep, exactly.
I think just honestly, the power of the niche and understanding who your audience is. I think that's been the biggest thing that's shaped my career. Knowing who you're speaking to, knowing who is going to buy the product that you're selling, always makes for more effective marketing and advertising, whether it's trying to sell yourself as an agent or trying to sell a home as the product. That's more important than anything else in this business. And I think it's something that gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah, that's totally true. That's awesome.
Yeah. So my best advice is that for the people that are listening right now is you really change your perspective about writing. So growing up, most people think that writing is a chore, right? Because earlier on when you were in college, or maybe when you were in high school, you got that, you're the annoying English teacher that made you want to write essays and poems and research papers. That's sort of boring stuff that you don't really like.
Yeah.
But what I'm really trying to point out is if you really want to optimize sales in your real estate business, there comes a point where you actually need to know a little bit of sales copy. You don't have to be a master at it, but you just have to know the basic principles of how to persuade people to buy from you. So my biggest advice is that when you are taking the time to write an email, make sure that you have this mindset that it's an investment. Because for every email or ad that you put up, that's actually going to give you a positive ROI in the return, because for every email you send, it's a potential sale. So it might not, you might not make that sale today, but the longer and longer you send out emails, the more frequent, and the more you share your depth of experience, the higher your ROI is going to be. And then another tip that I am going to give if I were to start writing emails is to stop writing and editing at the same time, and just, finish your draft, get that idea across. So I have this saying when I'm writing a draft, just write it now and then edit later.
Yep.
So if you can resist that urge to press that backspace button, you'll actually, it's actually a great technique. And then I guess if there's like a website that can do that for you, just go to draftin.com. And then there's an option there where you can click on the Hemingway mode. That will actually disable your backspace button, and that will allow you, try it out,
cool.
and then try it out, and then you'll see that your writing would be more effortless. It would be seamless because you're trusting your creative brain versus your critical brain, because when it comes to writing and editing, it's two different phases of the brain. So when you're writing, you're trusting your creative brain. So those are the ideas. That's the voice inside of your head. That voice when you say, okay, when I read this is how I say it. So you listen to that voice. Don't judge it. Don't say that it's bad. Just, get that idea across and get that first draft finished. And then when you're finished with that draft, just close it out, save it to a Google Doc or save it somewhere, and then give it time to sit. Because the more time that you spend away from your writing, the better it's going to be. So those are the two pieces of advice that I would give.
That's awesome. I will definitely have to check that out. I am one of those people who likes to free flow and write, but then sometimes I do kind of go back and edit, because I always think I'll save myself time later to edit later. But if I'm trying to get better at it, obviously that's a smart move. So that's awesome.
I was gonna say, what I talk about this a lot with clients on the marketing agency side is like, all of this, the question we always get is like, how do you deal with constantly changing algorithms? And it's the same as I don't. I just think about, for everything I'm putting out there, like, what does that platform want? Like Facebook, TikTok, it's pretty straightforward. Instagram, they just want people to spend more time on the platform and engage more. Google wants to provide the best possible answer to that search. So if I'm taking that in mind and working on that, all the algorithms are going to do are help me accomplish that better.
Exactly.
Right. So if I'm putting out helpful content, it's going to do that. Like right now, like Google's big thing is trying to de-rank people who use AI to write content. Because that's the big trend now, is people just put like a topic into an AI writer, and those can actually do a surprisingly good job for it. But I mean, Google's like, well, that's not really helpful, because all they're doing is essentially summarizing other articles into one. Like, it's not actually helpful content. So they're going to look at, okay, how can we now find out which sites are using those and take them out? So as long as, like, if you're doing AI content, you should probably stop.
Well, boy, just one. The thing that just came to mind when you said that, there's a bunch of things, but I'm really questioning the effectiveness of Facebook and Insta of late. I kind of think they've lost their way a little bit. That's my personal view. And somebody can like a post that you do, but it doesn't mean I've got Ryan Smith and I've got his phone number and his email. I haven't really earned the right to communicate with him. I can message him, but until it comes into that database, I don't have him. I've got squat. So my one piece of advice is, look for ways. If you're just starting, get to 500, get to 1,000, get to 1,500, get to 2,000. Get set up with a good CRM that's actually going to work. A lot of agents say, yeah, when I make a few bucks, I'll invest that $100 a month and buy that. It's too late. Your competition's already doing it. You want something that you can jump on your phone on the couch at 9 o'clock at night and put an email out that says, oh, by the way, it's 9 o'clock at night. I forgot to mention that we're just going to start marketing 21 Smith Street, Hamilton in the morning. This is just a VIP message if you'd like, whatever. You got to be able to reach out to, and that's the beauty with technology nowadays, isn't it? You can reach out to one, or you can reach out to 100,000. So exactly, just numbers.
Awesome.
So my best advice is I want you to try to get fired. And everyone who hears that going like, what the floggernoodle are you talking about?
Yeah.
I literally want you to try to get fired. And just hear me out. Trying to get fired is you trying to find the best client for yourself versus you hunting down everything that walks, because not all money is good money, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? I want you to be selective and picky. If you're single, if you're married, if you're engaged, whatever that status is, remember back when you were single and you were selective on your partner and you were picky. You were really freaking picky because, you know, this is the individual you're going to spend a lot of time with. Same thing that they're going to do with real estate agents, and the same thing you need to do with clients. Because once you get involved with these folks, they're part of your family. You're going to hear some of the nastiest. I have to really watch my tongue. You're going to hear some really nasty stuff that they're going to tell you, and just go out there. And this dovetails into my book.
So I'll leave with the best secret weapon that I use, I believe, to farm. Almost nothing is more powerful than building a relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
And it's a cheat code when you knock on someone's door, they say you're not interested, but you ask them what their name is. And they say, well, I'm Amanda. All right, Amanda, no problem. We'll talk later. And they're at number 4 Tim Street. Then, you know, during the year, 6 months later, you walk by, you're like, hey, Amanda, what's going on? And they turn around and you're like, who's calling me? It's Kenneth. Amanda, I remember me? They're like, yeah, you're the realtor. You came to, they believe that you care, but it's a relationship, but you marked it down because you know the name. And then what ends up happening is the following year, because this is a consistent thing, the following year now, it's like you're in the area again, and you're like, hey, Amanda, hey, Ken, you know? So now when Amanda's thinking of selling, I'm telling you, it's different when you can call a person's name.
Yeah.
You know, so I would say the one tip I would say that I didn't do good the first time, but I would mark everyone's name down in the area. Imagine if you knew 1,000 homeowners by name.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. Not, you don't have their number yet. Just know them by name.
Yeah.
That would be an amazing thing to do. So that's my one piece of advice that I'll give everyone.
I would say go for it. Despite, you might not know all of the steps. I would just say try. Just give it a shot. And I am always happy, like so happy when people ask me questions. So don't be shy to contact myself or Ryan. Most people who have success at doing something are happy to share how it worked well for them.
And no one's going to try to go in and compete against you when you've been doing it for as long as you have, and the size you've been doing it. I think you got it locked down. So that's pretty good. That's awesome. Thanks for checking out today's episode. If you'd like more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and our other social media channels. Looking forward to bringing you more great content like this, and happy farming.